So I decided to just record my thoughts on a show that I had watched last week, and I think it was either last week or the week before. But anyway, doesn't matter. What matters is that this is actually a really great show. It's called Reacher. I didn't know what to think of it. I did remember watching Jack Reacher, from Tom Cruise, and I still need to go watch the second one at some point. I mean, because Maria Hill is there. It's all yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. So, what is this show? In case people have not had the chance to learn about this show, it's about an ex Army Ranger named Jack Reacher, but only in the show he only goes by his last name Reacher, and that's what he expects for folks to for folks around him to call him. Anyway, so he's a drifter, and he just basically just wants his own peace of mind, and just wants to just enjoy living life with freedom, living in freedom. So that's all good. Nothing wrong with that. So then, so up to this point, there have been like two seasons. I actually ended up watching both of them, back to back, in just a couple of days. And honestly, I have to say it was really worth watching. I thought it was very intriguing. I really don't have too much knowledge with Reacher lore, except that it's actually But I trust that trust that the studio crew and the producers, the cast and crew, cast and crew. I trust that they know what they're doing, and this ends up becoming a very good show. So in season one, Reacher is basically framed for a murder, um, and as such, he gets he gets uh, arrested, and then he ends up meeting, having to befriending a couple of cops, who end up who become integral in season one. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not gonna give too many more spoilers other than he ends up working with them to basically clear his name and figure out what the heck is going on in there. So that's all there is to it. In season two, Reacher gets called, called to investigate the death of someone that was really close to him. And again, I'm not going to give too many spoilers, but all there is to say is that um, I thought season one was done extremely well. I particularly enjoyed the mature themes behind it. Very much, and I'm very much down for any for a bunch of machismo action. Reacher fights really well. Big guy, really good, really big dude. So he eats quite a bit, and he doesn't really carry many possessions. And this is actually a kind of a running theme for Reacher. It's just basically him being Reacher, and that's something that I really, that I found it to be very intriguing, pretty dang interesting. Um, so, uh, and then and in season two, yeah, and well, let's continue on with discussing season one. All right. So anyway, um, so what else goes on in this story is that he ends up having um, you know, having partners from two of Margrave's finest. That's basically the name of the town that he ends up at for this season, and one of them is a seasoned chief of detectives. The other is a patrol woman, and yes, she is a woman. Also happens to be a very good cop. She is really good at what she does. She does not take crap from anybody, and yeah, she's really beautiful. I really like her a lot. So the show stars. In both seasons of Reacher, the show stars Alan Richson. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's Richson, not Richardson, not Richardson. It's Richson. that's how it's spelled. So I'm going to go ahead and pronounce it as Richson, just out of like respect. He is the title character, Reacher, and I think he does a really great job portraying the character. Again, I don't really. I mean, that's just from the outside looking in. I don't really have much knowledge about the about this series, but I think he does a pretty good job being this lone ranger type of character. I think that's I think that was probably the intention that they were going with. He drifts around and just and he just lives his life in freedom, and that is something I really do appreciate. Not many of us are brave enough to abandon like a normal like home life. Like we work 9 to 5 jobs, and then we get and then that's what helps keeps the lights on. But anyway, that's not him. He basically has he's out of the army, and he is just just living his life, just moving around from place to place. That's basically his character. Now in season 1, he does get arrested he does get arrested for a murder he didn't commit, and then he ends up and while he's getting like ostracized by the populace and particularly the police force, he does end up finding 2 allies. So they're portrayed by Malcolm Goodwin, who is the chief of detectives, and Willa Fitzgerald, who portrays the patrolwoman, who ends up like working alongside Reacher. Talking about like the characters, I think Reacher does as mentioned before, I think Reacher does a really Richardson does a really good job portraying Reacher. I actually do buy that he is just wanting to live his life, and then ends up getting interrupted by the accusation, and so he has to clear his name. And then but I also was very surprised with how awesomely like fleshed out the other his partners turned out to be. So Oscar Finley, chief of detectives, he's got a lot of he's got some things about him. I really cannot speak at length about it because I would spoil the show. I actually think that you really should see this show. It's a very good show. But yeah, and he is portrayed and he's fleshed out really well here. And then Roscoe Conklin, portrayed by Willa Fitzgerald, she's really beautiful and she is very tough, and that is and she's more she's definitely more than a pretty face. She is a force to be reckoned with. So and as you'll see in the show again, watch the show because I think they are all 3 of them are absolutely talented in this. So well done to those 3. The other characters, I thought they were okay. I think like more or less the other supporting characters, they're kind of they really are just acting in the service of the plot. They're just there to move the plot along. Beyond that, there's really not much characterization. I think the villains in this show, in this season, were really underwhelming, and I think that's probably like one of the major like weaknesses. And you're gonna find out in this because again, like this is a show where you should try to keep up if you were to invest time into it. And then the plot is actually, I mean, it's to me, I think it's a little ham-fisted, but I see that they were trying to like I think that they overall did their best with the plot. And I mean, like leave it to an outsider like me to actually like evaluate that plot because that's I mean I'm sure that Lee Child, the author, actually did a good job like writing this character and then this universe. And but I mean like for me like I think like if I had read the books much sooner when I was when I was still in college, then I would probably like think that this is actually a good book because book series because otherwise like I've seen this plot quite a few times and I don't think it's too terribly special, but I think it's all right. So I think they actually did did work well with what they had. The fight scenes are really awesome. So we'll just move on to those next. I think the fight scenes in the were actually pretty well choreographed. The when the fists come out, it's it gets really bloody and it gets kind of disgusting, and that's kind of the way I like it. I really do like my fight scenes to be very visceral, and I actually want. I mean, like like what is realistic? Um, truthfully, I mean, like, can we honestly say that that's how it was? Like when how many people can actually say that they were in a fight? I mean, maybe they saw UFC fights, maybe they saw that, but all of that's very regulated. But what is it like out there on the streets and in the wilds? I mean, like, how is the fights regulated? And so for that, I actually am more than okay with how the fights were portrayed, and I think that was well done. The shootouts were pretty cool, and yeah, I so like the action scenes, I think they work really well here. They actually work really well here. Now I've also seen some like there is actually a couple of like sex scenes. I think maybe I counted at like maybe two, or there could have been more. There may have been more, but I think I just remember the two scenes. And more prominently, like there is a sex scene in there, and I thought that was done in good taste. I think like it's essentially, like first off, it is like a very mature. It is a mature, rated like show. It is 18 plus, and I believe that if you have a lot of like criticisms about the sex scenes, then I then you really need to get reevaluated, because this is an 18 plus show, and people are going to complain about an 18 plus show. If you're worried about the kids, then do a better job watching the kids. Don't let them watch this show. This is clearly an adult drama action series. So that's kind of like a little warning there for you. Overall, I think like given like spoiler free, I think this is like on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. I think this is a 4. I think this is a really good solid start. I think apart like there were some flaws in this show. I have to admit that that's a case, but I think like everything that needed to work actually works here, and I believe that's why Reacher succeeds so well with this. So, but yeah, it's good. So moving on to season 2, is when Reacher actually ends up getting plucked out of his like his comfortable life to avenge a friend, and so in this case, like it is actually a colleague of his. And I guess I won't. I guess this won't be too much of a spoilery point. There's another character. She ends up calling Reacher out of retirement. Frances Neely, portrayed by Maria Sten, and who I think does an incredible job portraying a very strong female figure. And so if there was ever a call for good strong female characters, Maria Sten's one of them. She fits the bill really well. She is black, and she's absolutely beautiful. She also has a very good chemistry with Reacher, with Alan Ritchson's character, Reacher. They got a good chemistry, something you really need to see. And she is the one who ends up calling Reacher out of retirement to try to avenge a friend's death. So beyond that, there's not much more than I can say. The action here is top notch. The fight scenes are amazing, and you actually do buy that they did work together along with some other friends. I'm again not going to talk about that because it is sport. That would bring us to spoiler territory. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about this. The only thing I also, again, there are some sex scenes in this movie. Well, in this season, but it is actually done really well. I think it's done very tastefully. This is adult behavior. So if this is not your thing, go somewhere else. Um, yeah, there's actually another character who they encounter, and that character is actually portrayed by Serinda Swan. She is also another colleague of Reacher, and has a very, very tasty. Call it a tasty past, with Reacher. And I think it was actually done very tastefully. There's also in this show season, they actually did upgrade the villains a little bit. So, um, one of the villains that ends up getting revealed early on in the season is portrayed by Robert Patrick, the T-1000, and there's a little like little little joke that's slipped in here regarding someone from his past. You gotta go see the show. But yeah, I think he actually does a pretty good job being a villain. I absolutely hated his character's guts for all the right reasons. Um, so yeah, this is I thought this was pretty well done by Robert Patrick, formerly known as the T-1000. So props to him for still being an absolute, absolute jerk. That's all I. Yeah, but anyway, other than that, I think it was a little bit better. But I think this was definitely a little bit better. I think it actually showed some evolution, in from the previous season. Overall, if I were to, so I wish there was more that I could talk about. But I will say this also is a four. I mean, there are some problems that I felt were there, but if I got into them, then, well, okay, I'll try to be as vague as possible. The problems I had was just the number of characters that appeared. So I think what ended up happening is that the many characters that are portrayed are given like the same amount of importance as like the main character as the principal actor characters in this season. I think that there were just simply way too many to track, and then you end up losing a lot of focus. I mean, and I do believe that given how they were handled, they were dangerously close to the edge of like being like they were shoehorned in to provide some levity and some weight, and regarding something that was done in the past. So, but anyway, other than that, I thought it was overall I thought it was a pretty good season. So, so yeah, there you have it. Reacher on Amazon Prime. I thought it was done really well. And yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about. See ya.